Hello, my dear student. I am Bhupen Deshmukh, work as an assistant professor, KKWA College in KKWA College Engineering, Nasik. Today, I want to share small topic that is energy source. Basically, energy source are two types. One is voltage energy source and second one is current energy source. These voltage energy source further divided into two parts. One is ideal voltage source, second one is practical voltage source, and similarly these current source are again divided into two parts. One is ideal current source and second one is practical current source. Contains ideal voltage source, practical voltage source, ideal current source, practical current source, and source transformation. The ideal voltage source and practical voltage source are related to voltage source, or we can say voltage energy source. Ideal current source and practical current source are related to current energy source or current source. After going through this video, you will be able to understand about energy source and source transformation and deep understanding about ideal voltage source, ideal current source, practical voltage source and practical voltage source. You will be better understanding about difference between ideal voltage source and practical voltage source. Similarly, difference between ideal current source and practical current source. Ideal voltage source. An ideal voltage source is a voltage source that supply constant voltage to a circuit or load is called ideal voltage source. This figure is represented as ideal voltage source diagram. A voltage source is a two-terminal device whose voltage at any instant of time is constant and is independent of a current drawn from it. Such a voltage source called ideal voltage source and have zero internal resistance. Practically, an ideal voltage source cannot be obtained. Key point: any ideal voltage source provide constant voltage to the load. Second point: any ideal voltage source internal resistance 0. Third point: practically ideal voltage source cannot be available in the universe. Practical voltage source. A source have some amount of internal resistance is known as practical voltage source. These figure represent the practical voltage source diagram. Practical voltage source has some key point. First, practical voltage source cannot provide constant voltage to the load. Practical voltage source has some internal resistance. Third point, practical voltage source are available in this universe. Ideal current source. An ideal current source is a two-terminal circuit element which supplies the same current to any load resistance connected across its terminal is called ideal current source. These figure represent as a ideal current source diagram. Key points: ideal current source provide constant current to the load. Second point, ideal current source internal resistance infinite. Third point, practically ideal current source does not exist in this universe. Practical current source. A current source which has some internal resistance is called practical current source. Any practical current source, internal resistance and current source are connected in parallel as shown in this figure. Key points. Practical current source cannot provide constant current to the load. Practical current source internal resistance infinite. Practical current source are available. Source transformation. We know that source are basically two types. One is voltage source, second is current source. Any voltage source can be converted into current source and any current source can be converted into voltage source. This is called as source transformation. But first case, when you are converting voltage source to current source, first, whenever we are converting voltage source to current source, always voltage source and resistance are connected in series. Then these voltage source can be converted into current source and this internal resistance connected with parallel of current source. This is called voltage source convert into current source. Next is current source converted into voltage source. Whenever we are converting current source into voltage source, current source and their internal resistance are connected in parallel, then these current source converted into voltage source and these internal resistance connect with series in with voltage source. These are called source transformation. Key points. Voltage source can be converted into current source when voltage source and resistance are connected in series. Second key point. Current source can be converted into voltage source when current source and resistance are connected in parallel. Thank you, my dear student. If you have any doubt related to energy source, comment on my YouTube channel. Again, thanks.